بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ قال موسى لفتاه لا أبرح حتى أبلغ مجمع البحرين أو أمضي حقبا. صدق الله العظيم. Alhamdulillah, brothers and sisters, we're continuing with these reflections, the Quranic reflections and the stories of the Anbiya and the Awliya that is mentioned in the Quran Kareem. And as we previously mentioned, every one of these Anbiya, they represent something of the virtues and the qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to attain, wants us to learn from. And all of them and all of the individuals who are mentioned in the Quran, and Allah has praised them and Allah has told us their stories, every single one of them are not prophets. And this is a very significant thing. And from amongst them, this is the first amongst them that there's a difference of opinion whether he was a prophet or not a prophet. And that is Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam. So the stories that are mentioned, Allah Azza wa Jal is reminding us that some of them were Anbiya and some of them were not prophets. They were not Anbiya. Which reminds us that this objection that a lot of people make, that how can I be like them? They were prophets. I can't be like a prophet. So Allah Azza wa Jal gives us the examples also of those who are not prophets, that they struggled. So then there's no excuse left for any of us to say, oh, obviously these stories, it's way beyond me. It's way beyond my capacity. I can never become like that. So Allah Azza wa Jal leaves us no excuse, and He brings those who are the Anbiya, who we can say they were to a certain level, protected and preserved, even though they were human beings, even though that they can make certain suboptimal, decisions, or they can make a mistake in judgment, but they were, preserved and protected by Allah Azza wa Jal. However, there were those individuals who were not prophets. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes them an example for us as well, and mentions many of their stories, and some of their stories will be coming here as well. So amongst them is Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam. And why we are mentioning it after Harun alayhi salam? Because Sayyidina Khidr came in that he was there, and the story of Khidr was intertwined with Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. So we will mention him and we will discuss his story after that of Harun. So he symbolized the endowment of special knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That there are certain unique slaves of Allah Azza wa Jal, that Allah ta'ala created them very special. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about Sayyidina Khidr, He mentions these words: فَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا مِّنْ عِبَادِنَا آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِّنْ عِنْدِنَا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. That when Musa alayhi salam went to see him, they found a special, unique slave of ours. Allah is calling him عَبْدًا مِّنْ عِبَادِنَا. He was a very special slave of Allah Azza wa Jal. He was a unique human being, which shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has certain special people on this earth. And what was the speciality? آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِّنْ عِنْدِنَا. We had given him a special mercy. We had endowed him with a special mercy. Right? That special mercy was the selection of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah had selected him. He was from the special and chosen servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on top of that, وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. Allah says we had endowed him and we had gifted him with the special knowledge from us. So Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam, what does he represent? He represents the divine endowment of special knowledge. Now, a very important point to understand is the difference of opinion about Khidr. Sayyidina Khidr, some people are of the opinion that he was not a prophet. He was a very pious and righteous person, but Allah Ta'ala had gifted him with wilayah, and Allah had gifted him with knowledge, and Allah had gifted him with a special status, piety and taqwa. Some of the scholars, though, because of the things that he had done and the things that Allah had commanded him to fulfill of the divine decrees on this earth, they say that no one could have done that except someone who was given nubuwwah, someone who was given prophethood. Because taking the life of someone, as is going to come, or destroying of property, or taking of the life, these categories of doing and this status cannot be of any normal person, because this relates to halal and haram. And only someone who is at the maqam of a nabi, they are endowed with this ability to know or ability to do or legislate, and that can only come as wahi min Allah, as a revelation from God. So I think the best opinion in this regard is what Mullah Ali Qari rahimahullah says, the muhaddith, huwa nabiyyun ghayru mursal. Huwa nabi ghayr mursal. Meaning he was a nabi, Allah had given him naba'ul ghayb. Allah had given him some of the knowledge that was a special knowledge of the unseen, some of that knowledge, and he was not sent to a particular people. He was not sent to a nation. He was sent with specific tasks. So this was the speciality of Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam. From amongst the tasks of Sayyidina Khidr was to train Musa alayhi salam in certain matters. In the matters of the decrees of Allah and the unseen matters that are, what we call masail at-takwiniyya. Those issues that deal with the decrees of Allah and the happenings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the world. Things that normal people don't know. Why is this happening? The interpretation of these circumstances. The interpretation of why this is happening or what is going to be from this particular situation. This is a very specific ilm. The ilm at-takween. Right? So, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, Allah Ta'ala had given him immense knowledge. And the story of Khidr, where does it come and where does it intertwine with Musa? It starts with this, that in the hadith of Sahih Bukhari, somebody asked Sayyidina Musa from Bani Israel, "Oh Musa, man a'lam ahl al-ard? Man a'lam ahl al-ard? Oh Musa, who is the most knowledgeable of human beings on the face of this earth?" So Sayyidina Musa, he was the Nabi of the time. He said, I am the most knowledgeable of the people of this earth. Because he was the Nabi, he was the Prophet of that time. And this is not something that is wrong. But what Allah Azza wa Jal wanted from him to say, Allahu A'lam. Allah wanted him to say, Allahu A'lam, that Allah is the most knowledgeable. Anyways, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has certain expectations from His prophets, which He wants them to say. And the Anbiya alayhimus salam, again, are human beings. They will say something according to their knowledge. And Sayyidina Musa was not wrong. But what Allah Azza wa Jal wanted and expected from him, he didn't say. So Allah commanded him, "Oh Musa, you have said this. But do you know that there's somebody who has a knowledge that you do not have? He has a knowledge that you do not have." This doesn't mean that Khidr alayhi salam was more knowledgeable than Sayyidina Musa, but he had a knowledge that Musa alayhi salam did not have. A knowledge, not the knowledge. Because Sayyidina Musa, Kalim, was the Nabi of the time and he was more superior. But in this particular thing, Sayyidina Khidr was gifted, and Allah Azza wa Jal wanted to show him and teach him something that he had not known about from before. So Allah Azza wa Jal said, "Go, and there is a special slave of mine, Khidr." And what's the name? What's the meaning of Khidr? Khidr means green. Green. Because they say that wherever Sayyidina Khidr would sit, then that place of earth would turn into greenery. And many other things are mentioned about him. Many stories are mentioned which is not narrated from Sahih Ahadith. Some say that Khidr alayhi salam will be alive till the day of judgment. Some say he is still alive. Some say that there was a water, the fountain of life, that him and someone else, Zulqarnain, they were looking for the fountain of life, that anyone who drinks from this fountain will never die and he will never get old. These are some of the stories that are weaved around the story of Khidr alayhi salam, which are not authentic. And I'm going to get to the point. Why I'm mentioning this? These are not authentic. Because people get over-occupied with these stories, which are not the maqsood. It's not the objective of what Khidr alayhi salam's story is about. So they say that when they were looking for this fountain, why he was called Khidr? He's called Khidr because anywhere he would sit would turn to life. It would turn green. If it was a patch of dead earth, he would come and sit there, it would turn to life. It would become alive. Yani Allah had given him karamat. Allah had given him special things. It has been mentioned. Again, these are not things that we give complete reliability. These are some of the stories that have been mentioned. So they say when they were looking for this water, this fountain of life, him and Zulqarnain, Sayyidina Khidr came to the side of this water and he was eating his food, and he threw the bones of the fish inside of that water, and when the bones of the fish was thrown inside the water, the fish actually regenerated and came back to life and started to move. He drank from it and washed himself, and he said, this is it. He went to go tell Zulqarnain, I found the fountain. Come quickly, we found it, this is the one. When he went to go get him and he brought him, he couldn't find it. From that story it goes on that, and this is narrated by Ibn Kathir in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya. If you look at the entry of Khidr, in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, this story comes, that he had drank from the fountain of life, and therefore he will be alive in the day of judgment, and until the day of judgment, Allah Ta'ala will give him various tasks to do, and he comes and appears at different times, and different ulama and different awliya and saints throughout the generations, they've said that they have met with Khidr, and so on and so forth. Wallahu a'lam. None of these narrations have real authenticity that we can rely upon. What is then the objective of Khidr? What is the point then? If that's not the point, what's the point? The point is that there is certain ibad min ibadillah. We have to believe this. This is part of our iman, and this is in the Quran Kareem. Even though certain group of people, they don't want to accept this. There are certain people who are ibad min ibadillah, آتيناه رحمة من عندنا وعلمناه من لدنا علما. They are certain special, unique slaves of Allah. They are the awliya. They are the friends of Allah. Allah has selected them. Allah has chosen them. Allah brought them on this earth with a special mercy from Him. They are the people of taqwa. They are the people of salah. They are the people of ilm. They are the people of piety and righteousness. They will always exist. They will always be there, just like Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam. And he represents that. Sayyidina Khidr represents this category of abdun min ibadina. That we should not be in denial of this. This is the Quran. We should not be in denial that Allah has certain awliya on this earth. Ala inna awliya Allahi la khawfun alayhim wa lahum yahzanun. There are those friends of Allah Azza wa Jalla on this earth. They shall have no fear, and neither shall they grieve. And they are alladhina amanu wa kanu yattaqun. They are the people who have iman, and they have a special taqwa. Allah has designated them, and Allah has selected them. And we'll see that when Musa alayhi salam said this, that I am the most knowledgeable, he was. But remember, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. And above every knowledgeable person is one who has more knowledge. Even the Prophet who said, I am the most knowledgeable, Allah said, wait, be careful what you say. I want you to go to travel to the joining of the two seas. And everything about the story is mystical. He didn't give him an address, go to 345 Stanley Way. You're going to find Mr. Khidr, there. Where's Khidr? There's Khidr. You go this, 345 Subhani Way, Subhani Drive, and you'll find Khidr there. He didn't tell him. He didn't give him a address like that. You know what address he gave? He said, go to the joining of the two seas. Yani everything about Sayyidina Khidr is like spiritual. It's mystical. It's not things that are like, okay, black and white. There are certain things in this dunya, and there are certain things in this world that is beyond us. You understand? There are certain things that are extremely special and beyond us, that have meaning, that have a deeper meaning. And this is connected with ilmul ladunni, that knowledge that is a special knowledge granted to certain slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah Azza wa Jal says, go to Majba'ul Bahrain, the place of the joining of the two seas, where the salty water and the sweet water, it meets and it comes together, there you're going to find him. So they're thinking, where is the joining of the two seas? They're traveling to find. So the story starts, ayat number 60 of Surah Al-Kahf. And Allah Azza wa Jal says, إِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِفَتَاهُ لَا أَبْرَحُ حَتَّى أَبْلُغَ مَجْمَعَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ أَوْ أَمْضِيَ حُقُبًا. Musa alayhi salam says to Sayyidina Yoshe alayhi salam, Joshua, he was with him. And he said to this young man, he says, oh Joshua, I will continue to find this place. Allah told me there's somebody that I have to go and learn from. And I'm going to continue to keep on going until I come to the joining of the two seas, or I'm going to continue for ages and ages and years, I'm going to continue to travel until I find him. Sayyidina Musa was tasked, leave everything. I want you to go and find Khidr. This is your job now. Go and find Khidr alayhi salam and go and learn from him. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَا مَجْمَعَ بَيْنِهِمَا نَسِيَ حُوتَهُمَا فَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلَهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ سَرَبًا. So then when they came to the joining of the two seas, right, they said that the place where they're going to forget their fish, that is the place where he's going to be. So they forgot their fish in that particular place, and it actually burrowed in the ground and went into the sea. It actually, just like miraculous thing happened, that the fish literally went down, it came out of the basket, and it burrowed down into the ground, and it went into the sea. فَلَمَّا جَاوَزَا, when they passed that area, قَالِ لِفَتَاهُ آتِنَا غَدَاءَنَا, come bring our lunch. Where's the fish? Where's our lunch? We're really tired now. We've been traveling for a while, but they had already passed by the area they were supposed to stop at. That was where the fish jumped out. قَالَ أَرَأَيْتَ إِذْ أَوَيْنَا إِلَى الصَّخْرَةِ فَإِنِّي نَسِيتُ الْحُوتَ. Oh, that was the place by the boulder. We were resting over there. That's where I forgot the fish. وَمَا أَنْسَانِيهُ إِلَّا الشَّيْطَانُ أَنْ أَذْكُرَ. And the shaitan made me forget. وَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلُهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ عَجَبًا. And it found its place back into the ocean in a very amazing way. قَالَ ذَلِكَ مَا كُنَّا نَبْغِ. That is what we're looking for. Yani that place where literally the fish jumped out of the basket and burrowed in the ground and went into the ocean, that amazing thing, that is where we're going to find Khidr. In other words, everything about Khidr, even his address was unusual. It's going to be at the place where the joining of the two seas, when the fish jumps out of the basket and burrows inside the ocean. What is? From this we understand that some of the pious people and some of the righteous people, you find them on accident. You're not even intending to find them. You find them and they're there, and you find them on accident. In other words, everything about them is from Allah. Everything about them, but the condition is you have to be seeking them with your heart, sincerely from your heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring you in front of them. فَوَجَدَ عَبَدًا مِّنْ عِبَادِنَا. They found a special slave from our slaves. آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِّنْ عِنْدِنَا. We had given him a special mercy from us. A special mercy. وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. And we had given him a knowledge that was very unique. And that was what they call ilmu takween. One is ilmu tashri'. Ilmu tashri' is the ilmu shara'i, ilmu sharia, the halal and the haram, the do's and the don'ts. But ilmu takween is why the things in the universe happen the way they do. That's ilmu takween. And that was the ilm that Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam was given. قال له موسى. When they were traveling together, Musa alayhi salam said, هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا. All the adab of talabul ilm has been mentioned in here. Musa alayhi salam says, can I follow you? So that when I follow you, you will teach me from what Allah has given you. Which shows that learning and coming to a teacher is not just about sitting in the class. You have to follow them. He says, هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا. May I follow you? So it's not just about like sitting in class and then disappearing. But having a teacher and having an ustad means that you follow that person. Sayyidina Musa is teaching us the adab. قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا. He said, Yani Khidr said, you'll never be able to have patience with me. You will never have patience with me. And this shows that teachers should test their students. Don't let anybody just come, but the student should be tested. Is he loyal? Is he sincere? And you tell him right here, لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. You will never ever be able to have patience with me. And why? وَكَيْفَ تَصْبِرُ عَلَى مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا. How will you ever have patience upon something that your knowledge cannot encompass that? You will never understand this knowledge. This knowledge is ladunni. This knowledge is ilm al-takween. From the external aspect of it, you'll never know what is going on. You're not going to be able to withhold yourself because you have ilm al-tashri'. You have the knowledge of halal and haram. You'll be seeing haram happening. You'll be seeing killing happening. And you will not be able to stay quiet. Like brothers and sisters, right now in Gaza, we see killing happening. But we don't know the hidden agenda or what's the hidden plan and decree of Allah Azza wa Jal. It is such a hidden plan that only Allah Azza wa Jal knows what is the khair that is behind this, what is the so many hidden blessings that might be behind this that we don't even know what it is. So these things we see in front of us, it breaks our heart and it shatters our heart. But behind this, what there is, that is only somebody with that special knowledge will know that why is all of this happening? And why does Allah allow such a thing? Because that's the question we ask, right? Why does Allah allow this killing? If Allah is so merciful, why did He allow this? If Allah is so kind, why did He allow this, right? This is a question that we always ask. The story of Khidr alayhi salam is the answer to that question. That there is a knowledge that me and you, we don't have, but Allah has. And Allah has given it to some of His khas and unique slaves. So they go. He said, you're never going to be able to have patience because the knowledge that I have, you're going to see it, you're not going to be able to tolerate. قَالَ سَتَجِدُنِي إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ صَابِرًا. He made a promise to him. سَتَجِدُنِي إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ صَابِرًا. You're going to find me, inshallah, patient. وَلَا أَعْصِي لَكَ أَمْرًا. I will not disobey you in anything that you command me. قَالَ فَإِنِ اتَّبَعْتَنِي. Okay, if you're going to follow me, then on one condition. فَلَا تَسْأَلْنِي عَنْ شَيْءٍ. Don't ask me a single question about anything. And this is what a real teacher should do. Nowadays, the students are ready to write a bad review on Yelp. The teacher that I studied 15 years with him, the teacher, he only gets half a star. He yelled at me because I didn't do my homework. Right? Here is Sayyidina Khidr. فَلَا تَسْأَلْنِي عَنْ شَيْءٍ. You're not even allowed to ask a question. Do you seek permission to ask a question? Some people, they just drag you and they compel you at gunpoint and answer my questions right now. Khidr alayhi salam is putting the condition. فَلَا تَسْأَلْنِي عَنْ شَيْءٍ. Do not ask me of anything حَتَّى أُحْدِثَ لَكَ مِنْهُ ذِكْرًا. Until I tell you. Until I tell you what it's about. You're not allowed to ask anything. فَانْطَلَقَا. So they continued on a way. حَتَّى إِذَا رَكِبَ فِي السَّفِينَةِ. They boarded a ship. And those people of the ship, they boarded them without taking any fare from them. قَالَ أَخَرَقْتَهَا. And what did Sayyidina Khidr do? He took an axe and he started making a hole in the bottom of the ship. He started about to make a hole to drown everybody. Oh, Musa alayhi salam, he could not stay quiet because what he was seeing was damaging of property is haram. How can I stay quiet? قَالَ أَخَرَقْتَهَا لِتُغْرِقَ أَهْلَهَا لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا. You're making a hole in this ship to drown everybody. You've done a horrible thing. قَالَ أَلَمْ أَقُلْ لَكَ إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. Oh Musa, didn't I tell you, you will never be able to have patience with me? And when they were on the ship, Khidr alayhi salam and Musa were going in this water in the ship, and a bird came and he took with his beak, one peck of water from the ocean. So Khidr alayhi salam told Musa, he said, do you see that bird that took one peck of water from the ocean? He said, yes. He says, my knowledge and your knowledge, right, put together is like that water that was pecked by the bird in his beak, and that knowledge of Allah is like that ocean. This is not even that. It's incomparable. But if I were to give you an example, my knowledge and your knowledge and the knowledge of the whole world put together is not even equal to that one peck of water that the bird took from that river or sea, and that endless sea is, right, like the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal, bila tashbih, because the knowledge of Allah is abadi and azali, and we can't even give لا مثال له ولا مثل له ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. So then he says, لا تؤاخذني بما نسيت. Don't take me into account, I forgot. ولا ترهقني من أمري أسرا. Don't be so hard on me. فانطلقا. They continued. حتى إذا لقي غلاما فقتل, until they went and they found a young man, he was playing and he killed him. Khidr alayhi salam just walked up to him and he just literally grabbed the neck of this boy and he twisted it. And he died on the spot. قال أقتلت نفسا زكية بغير نفس. Are you going to kill this innocent person without no sin that he committed? لقد جئت شيئا نكرا. What an evil you have committed. قال ألم أقل لك إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا. Didn't I tell you you're not going to be able to have patience with me? I told you not to ask questions. قال إن سألتك عن شيء بعدها فلا تصاحبني. Okay, Khidr, if I do anything like this again, then you can leave my company. That's the last. 2 strikes, 1 more, you're out. قد بلغت من لدني عذرا. Okay, this is the furthest, this is the last excuse. This is the last chance. فانطلق حتى إذا أتيا أهل قرية استطعما أهلها فأبوا يضيفوهما. Until they came to a village and they were hungry and they were tired and they were thirsty and they needed a place to rest and food. So they went and they asked, could you give us a place to rest tonight? We are travelers. فَأَبَوْا أَن يُضَيِّفُوهُمَا. They refused and they kicked them out. They said, no, we don't know you, strangers, get out of here. فَوَجَدَ فِيهَا جِدَارًا يُرِيدُ أَن يَنْقَضَّ فَأَقَامَهُ. So they found that there was a wall right by this village and it was about to fall over, and Khidr, he just pulled up his sleeves and now he's fixing it and he's putting the asphalt and he's putting this wall back up and repairing it, and he's sweating and they're hungry and they're thirsty and they're tired, and Khidr is now putting. قال لو شئت لاتخذت عليه أجرا. We don't have anything to eat. You could have at least taken some, pay for this. You're doing free services for them. We're hungry and thirsty and tired. We don't even have a place to sleep. We don't have nothing to eat. You could have at least taken some ajr for this. قال هذا فراق بيني وبينك. That's it, Musa. This is the separation between me and you. But then, سأنبئك بتأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا. I am now going to tell you the interpretation. This is a very important point here, brothers and sisters. Everything that happens in this world has an interpretation. All the circumstances of your life, all the ahwal that occur in this world, it has an interpretation. Why? What's happening in Gaza right now? There's a ta'wil. There's an interpretation behind what is happening that me and you, we don't know. Right? Something happens. A child becomes orphaned at a young age. A child was neglected at a young age. There's an interpretation of that. There's something that we have to learn from that. Something, happens where, a person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes him from rags to riches. From rags to riches. There's an interpretation behind how that happened, why that happened. We understand what's happening. So Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam is telling us and teaching us that the happenings and the circumstances in the life of this world is not what seems to the eye. It's not what the eye sees. It's beyond what the eye sees and beyond what the eye can understand. He says, now I'm going to tell you what you did not have patience over. أَمَّا السَّفِينَةُ فَكَانَتْ لِمَسَاكِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ فِي الْبَحْرِ. As for the ship, it belonged to some poor fishermen. And these poor fishermen, whatever they would catch fish with their ship, that is what they would gain, and that was their daily bread. فَأَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَعِيبَهَا. So I wanted to break it up and I wanted to damage the ship a little bit. وَكَانَ وَرَاءَهُمْ مَلِكٌ يَأْخُذُ كُلَّ سَفِينَةٍ غَصْبًا. And there was a evil king or a tyrant governor who he would come in whatever ships that he would see that are immaculate. He says, okay, I know that they're going to make good money. So what he would do, he would then either rob their ships or tax them, and they would be left with nothing, and they would be hungry and in dire straits. So he says, I damaged the ship, so when the tax collector is passing by to see which ship is, good tip-top condition, they will see that this ship is damaged and they will leave them. so that these pious people, their money, their wealth, their daily bread can be preserved, and they don't have to suffer from bankruptcy. Allah preserved them from that damage. Sometimes we get in an accident. Oh, why did this accident happen to me? You don't know that maybe Allah Ta'ala preserved you from a major calamity ahead that you don't know what that calamity could have been. وَأَمَّا الْغُلَامِ, as for the boy that I was commanded to kill him, فَكَانَ أَبَوَاهُ مُؤْمِنَيْنِ, his parents were two pious people. فَخَشِينَا أَن يُرْهِقَهُمَا طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا, and we were afraid that this boy was going to grow up and become a staunch hater, a staunch atheist, and he was going to compel his mother and father to kufr. فَأَرَدْنَا أَن يُبْدِلَهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا خَيْرًا مِنْهُ زَكَاةً وَأَقْرَبَ رُحْمًا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to replace that boy with someone that is better, with someone that will become pious and more dutiful to the parents. وَأَمَّا الْجِدَارِ, as for the wall, that wall actually, under that wall there was a treasure that was buried by the parents of two orphans, and they had passed away, and that treasure was under this. If that wall would have fallen, it would have came out of the earth, because the wall goes down, so it was buried under this. So if the wall would have fallen, it would have pushed this treasure out. The people would have usurped the wealth of these orphans, and they would have been left with nothing. So Allah commanded me, فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ أَن يَبْلُغَ أَشُدَّهُمَا وَيَسْتَخْرِجَ كَنْزَهُمَا. Allah wanted that, right, that they should reach their age of maturity, and then they themselves, right, with maybe a wasiyah that was written for them that they would be given, that they should take this treasure then at that time as a mercy from your Lord. And then he says, وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ عَنْ أَمْرِي, I did not do any of this by my own will. ذَلِكَ تَأْوِيلُ مَا لَمْ تَسْطِعْ عَلَيْهِ صَبْرًا. This was the interpretation of all that you did not have patience upon, O Musa alayhi salam. So from this we understand, in this, many of the scholars who have the opinion that he was a prophet is because of this, right? وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ عَنْ أَمْرِي, I did not do any of this by my own accord. Rather, this was by the command and by the order and by revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With that being said, what does Khidr have to do with us? The story of Khidr tells us about abdun min ibadina, that there are certain slaves of Allah, certain special awliya, certain people that are endowed knowledge, certain people that are endowed piety. Just as Musa alayhi salam traveled far and wide to find and be in their company, we should also be in their company. We should find those people. They will be there till the day of judgment. Such righteous people will be there. We should search them, and we should find them, and we should accompany them, and we should take benefit from them. Because when we sit with them, Allah Ta'ala will give us an understanding about the world that is much beyond what we see with our eyes. And his story teaches us that there's much more beyond what we see, right? With the naked eye. There is something behind the veils of Allah Ta'ala's decree that only the special slaves of Allah Azza wa Jal knows. And they are sometimes people that are hidden, but you will know them from their signs. You will know them from their piety. You will know them from their taqwa. You will know them because they don't want to be in the limelight. Khidr alayhi salam is somebody who is not in the limelight. He's not a celebrity. He's not a, out and about type of person. He's hidden. And always there will be those hidden, pious, righteous people that when we go to them, we will get special knowledge and wisdom, and it is part of us. Just like Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam was commanded to go and be in the suhbah of such people. We have to find and be in the suhbah, no matter how knowledgeable we think we are. Even if we think like I have the most knowledge, I'm Mufti, Hazrat, Shaykh, this, that, Shaykhul Hadith, Shaykhul Quran. Even then, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above everyone of knowledge, there is one who is more knowledgeable. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand what has been said. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحانك اللهم